The Biden administration's disinformation board has been suspended amid fears it would impede free speech. There was a real constitutional liability here. And the big story is that the disinformation czar had resigned, which says likely the DHS disinformation board probably gone. Now, a lot of people were calling out Nina Jankowicz, the director, for spreading disinformation herself, which she did on more than one occasion. But of course, as the corporate press walks in lockstep with the mainstream media, rest assured the Washington Post will blame the right-wing disinformation machine for shutting down such a noble effort. Incredible. Journalism is supposed to challenge the power. Well, the old saying is that it afflicts the comfortable and comforts the afflicted. There, I got it out. And that is to say that for those that are in power, it's going to challenge you and question your power. And for those that are being oppressed, it's going to highlight why you are being oppressed. Now, journalism isn't perfect, and sometimes there are bad people who are poor, and sometimes there are good people who are rich. But the goal is to properly inform people so they know what's going on in the world and can make proper decisions. This disinformation board, in my opinion, its entire goal was to control the narrative. I'll tell you exactly what would have happened. Now, I stated this before, but I'd be willing to bet the disinformation board, like Nina Jankowicz, she'd come out and she'd say, this story about Hunter Biden's laptop is fake news. The Russians are pushing it. Then Twitter would say something like, due to the disinformation board's opinion on this being an attack from the Russians, we are barring the sharing of this story, giving the private company an out. Well, the company may go to Elon Musk. The disinformation board has failed, but there's something particularly nefarious in this beyond just what they were trying to do with censorship and manipulation. It's also the outright admission from journalists like Taylor Lorenz that you should not be allowed to challenge the government or the authority. Isn't that creepy? Because anybody who did was engaged in a right-wing disinformation campaign. But of course, when Taylor Lorenz herself goes after libs of TikTok, well, that's good journalism. You see, the issue with Nina Jankowicz that's resulted in her resignation and the collapse of the disinformation board was that people started digging up posts from her where she claimed fake news was real news. And now she's supposed to run the disinfo board. Maybe she can reflect upon being wrong. It's remarkable when they're like, she truly was a disinformation expert. Yes, perhaps an expert in sharing it herself and then finding out later. Maybe that's why she resigned. So good for her. Maybe she acknowledged that she was bad at her job. This is a dodged bullet, but it shows, well, the night is always darkest before the dawn. And the dawn may be coming. With Elon Musk's maneuvers to expose and purchase Twitter, with the disinformation board's almost immediate failure, I think it was only like 20 days and this lady was out. It shows you that regular people standing up can make a difference. Every day we see it now. The Democrats are in disarray. Republicans are expected to win bigly in the midterms, and then following that likely do nothing. But we'll see. Maybe there will be some good primaries. Rand Paul won his. Madison Cawthorn lost his. It's hard to know exactly what's going to happen and who's going to step in. But if the establishment takes a hold of the Republican Party, rest assured nothing will change, and you will see more problems like this arise. Then things will only get worse. So you should make sure you're voting in your primaries. You should make sure that you know who you're voting for, and you're voting for the America First candidates, the people who believe in supporting the working class, challenging the power, and calling out the corporate press's lies. But let's talk about Miss Nina Jankowicz and her resignation. Before we get started, head over to timcast.com and become a member to help support our work. As a member, you'll get access to exclusive segments from the Timcast IRL podcast, as well as support our journalists. We have many people who are writing awesome stuff all day, every day. And as a member, you're basically making sure they're employed. We're trying to hire many, many more people. It's really difficult. But you're also supporting the infrastructure because we use Rumble. And by supporting us, supporting companies that use alternate technology companies, we are directly competing with Silicon Valley. So these big censorious platforms that want to silence us, shut us down, they are going to lose power, and we will build something somewhere else so it can't be done. When Dan Bongino got banned from YouTube, he said, so what? I have more subscribers on Rumble anyway. And that was huge. speaking about all of this censorship, the lies, the manipulation, is more important than ever to support the companies you believe in. We've got more infrastructure changes coming soon. We use Rumble's video player and we use Rumble's cloud infrastructure. We've got other companies we're going to be integrating with to challenge the machine and speak out against censorship, manipulation from people like Nina Jankowicz. So whenever we talk about censorship, rest assured we are putting our money where our mouths are. And when you become a member, your money is helping to make these things a reality. Thank you so much. Smash the like button, subscribe to this channel, share this video right now wherever you can. Let people know. Let's read the news. The Daily Caller reports disinformation czar resigns and the board is on pause. Well, it's been suspended. The Department of Homeland Security put a pause Monday on its disinformation board after the truth czar who resigned Wednesday came under fire for spreading disinformation herself, the Washington Post reported. Of course, the Washington Post is trying to make it seem like it was a disingenuous disinformation attack. Oh, heavens. I love to see all these corporate journalists be like, stop, we must defend the government. Oh, the great journalistic tradition of defending the government. Good for you guys. DHS shut the board down Monday. And Nina Jankowicz, who was tapped to lead the department, drafted a resignation letter Tuesday, according to the Washington Post. Jankowicz was reported, I believe this is the same story from Taylor Lorenz, but we'll put up in case. Jankowicz was reportedly pulled into a meeting late Tuesday night, however, with officials giving her the chance to stay on as the department determines whether to move forward with the highly polarized board. Jankowicz formally resigned Wednesday, according to the Washington Post's Taylor Lorenz. The decision comes as Jankowicz faced extreme backlash for pushing disinformation. Jankowicz attempted to discredit the Hunter Biden laptop story as a Trump campaign product while speaking to ABC News in 2020. During the presidential debate, Jankowicz posted that President Biden cited 50 former NatSec officials and 5 former CIA heads that believe the laptop is a Russian influence op. The laptop was authenticated by several outlets, including the Daily Caller News Foundation. Jankowicz also claimed the now discredited Steele dossier was funded by Republicans in a 2017 tweet. She also expressed concern about Elon Musk's takeover of Twitter and what would happen if free speech absolutists were taking over more platforms. Jankowicz also said in 2021 the GOP is made up of disinformers who have seized on issues like critical race theory to spread disinformation. Of course, Jankowicz is a liar. She is a liar and a figurative thief. Liar and a thief is the phrase. I don't know if she's actually stole anything, but she was attempting to steal information from our very minds. I'm kidding with that one. No, she was attempting to lie to us, to manipulate us, to trick us into supporting bad policy. Or she's just really dumb. You know, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she has a degree in economics and she doesn't know what capitalism means. That to me is not surprising. AOC made a video where she said, "You're not a capitalist because you're not a billionaire." And it's like, what? Capitalism is just the private trade of goods, whereas socialism is the public trade of goods. When the public owns it, it's a communal decision and people don't have a say. When it's capitalism, a private individual can determine what they do with their capital. Bro, read a book. I don't even have an economics degree. I just looked up the general terms. But that's AOC, right? It's no surprise. Jankowicz herself does not know what's real and believes this information. Millennials are a hurt generation. And it's particularly troublesome to me that we have so many people who are the opposite of who should be in a position in those positions. Jankowicz is somebody who should sit down and be lectured to by an expert on disinformation. And you want to know who is an expert on disinformation? You are. All of you who watch these videos, and I'm not talking about because you watch these videos, I'm saying because you watch a bunch of news, you already know she's wrong. How is it that you, sitting there in your looking at your desktop computer or perhaps driving to work, know more about what's real than a Department of Homeland Security disinformation expert? Something is broken. Now, I'll defend this woman on a couple points. When she tweeted, Joe Biden cited 50 former NatSec officials, she said, I was just quoting what they had said. Trump said, Russia, Russia, Russia. Biden said 50 officials. That's still spreading disinformation. You get it? Now, in reality, sometimes you quote people and sometimes those quotes are wrong. I'm not going to blame her for that. But if we want to get, down to the nitty gritty, if someone is supposed to be determining, fact checking, they shouldn't just be pushing things out without checking into it. Fact checkers should not be like, quote was, 2 + 2 = 5, saith the quote. They should be like, Fact check. Does 2 + 2 = 5? The answer is no, it doesn't. So if her goal is to be a disinformation expert and to call out lies, her tweet should have said, Biden says this, Trump says this, Biden is wrong. Or at the very least, later on said, noted, Biden was incorrect. This story was true. Let's take a look at this story from the Washington Post, from Taylor Lorenz. Why was this taken down? Well, as the corporate news outlets march in lockstep with the government and suckle the teat of Big Brother, how the Biden administration let right-wing attacks derail its disinformation efforts. You mean to tell me that the Washington Post gets a scoop, and instead of writing breaking, the board is suspended and Nina Jankowicz resigns, they write right-wing attacks. Okay, Washington Post, this is an opinion piece. All right, NewsGuard. Come on, NewsGuard. 100 out of 100. NewsGuard contacted us recently over at Timcast.com. They said we do a pretty good job. They out of the 1,000+ articles we have, they had 5 issues, just 5. And you know what? They were right about those issues. So we took care of them, factual errors, things like that. And we were like, that was an oversight. We made a mistake. We will correct immediately. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. We make sure everything's labeled opinion. And dude, I have a very low threshold for what becomes opinion. We had an article that said, what could happen if Roe v. Wade is overturned? And I immediately said, could, opinion, slapped a label on it. And the editorial team went, whoa. Wait, Tim, wait. Okay. It's not an opinion piece. We are showing you the existing laws. And I said, okay, all right. I'll let that one go. But I'm ready to be like, I will put an opinion label on any one of these, because who cares? If there's anything in there where you think something may be, or you think something could mean, then we put an opinion label on it. In this instance, what could happen was a reference to trigger laws and pending legislation. And so the argument was, it's not that it could happen because we think it might, it's because there's pending legislation that may or may not get voted down. That's a fact. And I went, you got me? You got me. This right here from Taylor Lorenz is disinformation. It is an opinion piece masquerading as news. Bravo, Washington Post. Democracy dies in darkness, I suppose. Taylor Lorenz, you know where you love her, writes, in the morning of April 27th, the Department of Homeland Security announced the creation of the first Disinformation Governance Board, with the stated goal to coordinate countering misinformation related to Homeland Security. The Biden administration tapped Nina Jankowicz, a well-known figure in the field of fighting disinformation and extremism, as the board's executive director. In naming the 33-year-old Jankowicz to run the newly created board, the administration chose someone with extensive experience in the field of disinformation. I want to pause there and say someone who also shared tons of disinformation, but I digress. She goes on to say, which has emerged as an urgent and important issue. Once again, NewsGuard. How about this? Can everybody, and I mean it, let's be activists for a moment. How about, okay, so look, NewsGuard isn't the end-all be-all, but NewsGuard rates the Washington Post a 100 out of 100. NewsGuard is integrated, I believe they're integrated with Microsoft Edge and mobile browsers and things like that. And it's a certification process, of which there are a few. How about everyone just email this article to them and say, hey, they forgot to label this opinion? How about anytime you see CNN, the Washington Post, not label something opinion, you just send it to NewsGuard? You know, one of the things they emailed us on NewsGuard was they were like, why didn't you include clinical trials? We had an article. The article was about a bill in New Hampshire related to the use of ivermectin. They asked us why we didn't include information on clinical studies related to ivermectin. And I said, I'm sorry? Is there an error in our reporting? Because if we report that politicians say X and do X, that's the story. I said, are you suggesting an editorial change? NewsGuard should not be asking us. That was over the line. And I have no problem saying it. I am a fan of NewsGuard, by the way, because I actually think they may be biased. And when they do things like this with the Washington Post, which allows for disinformation from these outlets, this is where they do a bad job. The Washington Post does a lot of fine news, but I guarantee you that the NewsGuard is not accurately assessing what the Washington Post is, because Taylor Lorenz publishes opinion pieces masquerading as news. When are they going to get knocked for it? They don't update. They don't correct. They don't. Anyway, I digress. They're going to say, within hours of the news of her appointment, Jankowicz was thrust into the spotlight by the very forces she dedicated her career to combating. The board itself and DHS received criticism for both its somewhat ominous name and scant details. Wait. Jankowicz was thrust into the spotlight by the forces she dedicated her career to combating? The right? Taylor, are you saying she's a left-wing political activist who dedicated her life to fighting the right? I'm confused by what you mean. Nobody created disinformation. They shared literally what she was doing. Jankowicz was on the receiving end of the harshest attacks, with her role mischaracterized, and she became a primary target on the right-wing internet. The right-wing internet! A unique and separate space from everyone else. Oh, please. Opinion piece masquerading as fact. NewsGuard, where you at? Just 3 weeks after its announcement, the Disinformation Governance Board is being paused. It's suspended, according to multiple employees. Good. Tuesday night, Jankowicz was pulled into an urgent call with DHS officials who gave her the choice to stay on. So this we know. All right, let's move on from here. We have this. Let me pull this up from Glenn Greenwald, who wrote, "It's a cause of momentary celebration that the Department of Homeland Security was forced by popular anger to pause its disinformation board and the absurd resistance cartoon they hired to run it. But read this to see how angry Washington Post and Taylor Lorenz are that it happened. Investigating and criticizing a Homeland Security official is now harassment and bullying, according to the Washington Post and Taylor Lorenz. Only ordinary citizens can be investigated, not a high-level U.S. security state operative. Them's the rules." Glenn says, summary of the rules from the Washington Post. High-level officials of the Department of Homeland Security off limits from investigation and criticism. Anonymous citizens who tweet bad ideologies, dox, unmask, bang on relatives' doors. You know, if I didn't know better, I'd say Taylor Lorenz was working for the intelligence agencies, but a stretch too far. No, news outlets just walk in lockstep with them. It's what they do. If the government says it, it's true. If anyone else says it, it's not true. That's the game. Glenn says, in sum, a free press exists to unmask and punish private citizens with wrong politics. Shoelace reporting. Not to investigate and scrutinize the beliefs, conduct, and claims of powerful government officials. Harassment and bullying. Without having the U.S. government's Department of Homeland Security, without having their disinformation board run by Nina Jankowicz to decree truth and falsity, how will we know what we should believe and not believe? How can a democracy function without Department of Homeland Security telling us what is true and what is false? The people can stand up and the people can win. And y'all did just that. And a shout out to our good friend Bill Maher. Bill Maher rails against Nina Jankowicz Disinfo Governance Board. These are not bright people. The HBO star says critics are right to compare the DHS board to Orwell's Ministry of Truth. And this is the reality. Reality czar Ricky tweeted, "I guarantee right-wing attacks didn't derail this. The Biden administration has proven over and over they bulldoze over concerns of real America. This must not have polled well among Democrat voters and or been a constitutional liability." I completely agree. When Bill Maher goes on his show and speaks to a predominantly moderately liberal audience and says, these are not bright people, they hear it. And Biden goes, yo, it's hurting our polls. Pull back, pull back. They say, real-time host Bill Maher blasted the so-called Disinformation Governance Board and Nina Jankowicz. And this story is from May 14th. During his panel discussion on Friday, Maher knocked the Department of Homeland Security, which he said itself had a creepy name, for rolling out its new initiative, which he insisted is even creepier. Yes, they're right to compare this to Orwell in the Ministry of Truth. That's exactly what it sounds like. After acknowledging that he was all right with DGB's mission to go after disinformation from Russia and migrant traffickers, Maher took issue with the DHS's definition of disinformation, which is, quote, false information that is deliberately spread with the intention to deceive or mislead. Well, you could have said that about if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. Maher reacted, referring to President Obama's infamous claim about Obamacare, which was declared lie of the year by PolitiFact. It said also, here's a phrase, can take many forms. Okay, now we're going faster down the slippery slope, including but not limited to the two I mentioned. Okay, so government should not be involved in deciding what's true or not true, because a lot of people are saying, and my follow-up question would be, who do you think the truth czar is going to be in 2025? Maher added. Former Rep. Jane Harmon, a Democrat who says she's on the DHS advisory committee, knocked the DGB, telling Maher, I don't get this piece. And that she was never consulted about it before the rollout. She added that the board would be fine if it was confined to narrow missions, but broadening their authority would be highly unfortunate. Maher then pointed to remarks Jankowicz previously made about wanting to essentially edit Twitter in order to add context to certain tweets. Oh, you mean like what Twitter is? Maher told Jankowicz. That's what Twitter is. When somebody says something and you add context. These are not bright people in our government. I don't know if he said it exactly like that, but I love impersonating Bill Maher. Last week, Maher closed his show with a monologue decrying censorship on the internet. Bravo and respect to Bill Maher. Quote, this idea that we could clean up Twitter and protect you from fake news and disinformation, it's so ridiculous. People always lie. That's what people do. Every age is the misinformation age. And whenever a new means of communication comes along, some reach right for the censor button. In 1858, the New York Times thought we couldn't handle the transatlantic telegraph. They said it was superficial and too fast for truth. Lies are all around you. Lies are all around you. Develop a better bullish detector. That's a better solution than me giving up what I'm allowed to read. Who decides that? Who decides what gets the no evidence for that sticker slapped on it? Sometimes misinformation is just history's first draft. I see a lot of things on social media and also old F's media. And I don't completely believe any of it. Not right away. Not until I check it out. But when I ask, is it true? Usually the answer turns out to be, well, sort of. Or yes, but. So you see, we've all become very adept at saying things that are technically true but lack context, or leave out half the story. So if we're going to ban untruth, does that include the half-truth, the quarter-truth, and wait, don't the wokest people in the world believe that what really matters is your truth? This is still America, where people have the right to express what they think, including to be wrong, to lie, and yes, the right to be an a-hole. But if you think you know everything, and no one else could possibly have some other truth, you should be glad for that protection because you're an a-hole, Maher added. Bravo. Bravo on that monologue. You know, Bill Maher, I wish you would get with the program and pay more attention to what was going on with the news. But here's a guy who lives with mainstream corporate press. I am surprised he's been able to break out as much as he has. Jon Stewart lost his mind. Here we go. Nina Jankowicz promoted Trump-Russia claims, urged government intervention and disinformation in 2020 book. This is not a good or bright person. Robbie Suave, for Reason, writes, Nina Jankowicz's faulty record, not her critics, doomed the disinformation board. Even Elon Musk somehow found his way into this segment. Okay, Elon. I think the past 12 segments that Timcast has done about you have been about you. So how are you in all of the news now? Elon Musk slams Nina Jankowicz's call for verified users to edit tweets. Well, there it is. Elon Musk wants to buy Twitter, and Nina Jankowicz actually called on blue checks to be able to edit your tweets. Dude, a step too far, no? Musk was responding to a video of Jankowicz, we know she is. Disconcerting, Musk wrote. Jankowicz told participants in a recent Zoom chat that she is verified by Twitter before adding that there are a lot of people who shouldn't be verified who aren't legit because they're not trustworthy. I thought the verification badge wasn't an endorsement, wasn't a symbol of quality. I thought verification was basically like this person is who they say they are. For the longest time, James O'Keefe was not verified, Julian Assange was not verified, and why? They were who they say they were. But they didn't. I think James had his verification removed, actually. She adds, verified people can essentially start to edit Twitter in the same sort of way that Wikipedia is, so they can add context to certain tweets. Ben Shapiro is verified. Should he edit tweets? No. But is this what they're arguing? Elon Musk called it disconcerting. If President Trump were still on Twitter and tweeted a claim about voter fraud, someone could add context from one of the 60 lawsuits that went through the court or something that an election official said, so that people have a fuller picture rather than just an individual claim on a tweet. Talk about these people are dumb as a box of rocks. Or she's just lying. I'm glad she resigned. Nina, your singing is fine. I've heard it's not that good. I enjoy it. Your weird political singing is a little cringe, but the musical number, pretty good, actually. I'm impressed. Your disinformation perspective is so wrong. You should have never have agreed to take this job. Do you know anything about the lawsuits that went through the courts and why you saying that does nothing? The lawsuits that went through the courts were dismissed mostly on standing, not on merit. They were dismissed, but that is not an argument. A judge said that you aren't the right person to file a suit, so therefore we've disproven it. No, you haven't. I am just so frustrated when you see crackpot, low intelligence people thinking they're so smart. Wonderful. I don't think I'm so smart. I think I'm good at strategy. I think I'm good at calculation. It doesn't mean I'm a genius. I don't think the smartest person in the room. I just have opinions. I'm very opinionated. So there are a lot of things I don't have strong moral positions on. Tim, why don't you talk about this issue or that issue? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know enough to advocate strongly. Maybe if you can show me some data and some definitive proof that your opinion is backed by facts. Here's what I can't stand. Low intelligence people like Nina Jankowicz. She's a midwit. She's a little bit smart, but not smart enough to do something like this. But she is so arrogant that she would assert authority over you. It's what we experienced. We typically, when we invite people from the left on the show, because these people don't know what's going on. Tendency, not all the time, but it is the rule. When I talk to someone who's on the left and I'm like, Joe Biden in Ukraine, and they're like, that's fake. And then I'm like, here's the video. And they're like, oh, I didn't know that video was real. And I'm like, did you Google search it? I tell you, I don't think I'm the smartest person in the world. I think I just know how to use Google. I just search for stuff. I just look up stories. I verify the sources. She doesn't. And she was given this job. The resignation was the right thing to do. I commend her for it. Bravo, Nina. You are not qualified for this position. Resigning was the right thing to do. Here's the real reason I think they shut down the Disinfo board. The Atlantic writes, Democrats' midterm identity crisis. Biden's agenda is stuck. His party hasn't figured out how to replace it. Well, that's what it is. The midterms are coming up. This probably polled very poorly. The Democrats don't know what they're doing, so they're fumbling and falling apart. They're going to mention, you know what? Let's talk about the media. President Joe Biden arrived in office with a throwback theory of how to expand his party support. Full stop. Dude, write news. Okay, it's a column. You know what I don't like about modern journalists and columnists? Is like they don't know how to write anything. They really don't. They're terrible writers. This is what you see so often in news. There'll be a headline and it'll be like, Nina Jankowicz resigns. Actually, let's see if Taylor Lorenz did this. Let's see what she writes. On the morning of April 27th, the Department of Homeland Security announced it with the creation of the Disinformation Governance Board to coordinate blah, blah, blah. The Biden admin tapped Nina Jankowicz, a well-known figure, to feed the feed, and naming her into the board. Blah, 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 blah. This is called wasting time. Because, first, it's not the worst example of it, but the first paragraph should be, Nina Jankowicz, who was to run Biden's Disinformation Governance Board, has resigned, and the board has been suspended. So how many paragraphs until she breaks the news? Just 3 weeks. So what? We're on the fourth paragraph. I don't know. That annoys me. You know what really annoys me though? She didn't do it here, but it'll be a story. It'll say like, Joe Biden does backflip, and then you'll be like, wow, what happened? And you'll open it. You'll scroll to the first paragraph, and it'll say, it was a cold summer morning. The crisp air could be felt on one's neck. The sun had risen, and the dew was on the morning grass. A crowd emerged, and I'm like, okay, dude, shut up and tell me what happened, and then write me a novel. I can't stand when news outlets do that. But in this instance, what we can see here is Taylor Lorenz is, it's remarkable how bad she is at this. She's got sources. She's controversial. That's why she gets hired. This is terrible. This is not journalism. That's why they hire her. Rage bait that will get to the left and the right to click it, because here we are, right? Okay. Taylor Lorenz got a scoop on a big story. and then wrote an op-ed and buried the lead. Weird. Like, seriously, weird. What? Why? Why? What is her intention? What is her motivation? Controversy. In my opinion, the reason they hired her is because the Washington Post hired Taylor Lorenz is because she is a very whiny. So actually, let me get this. I have sources inside New York media, and my understanding is that it is believed she's whiny, controversial, scandalous, and those are all positive traits for generating rage bait to make money. The Washington Post wants to make money, so well, there you go. There are comments on the Washington Post article. I'd like to see some. One person says, will this information have the same definition with a Republican in the White House? I would be concerned an agency will be used for political purposes, regardless of which party is in power. I also worry when government says it will protect our freedom of speech, again, regardless of who's in the White House. Wow, a whole long article on this. And they didn't mention the most important thing, her own disinformation role in the Hunter Biden laptop. That was the big moment for me, putting someone like that in charge of the board like this, who herself played a role in disinformation. Taylor Lorenz is kind of like a shock jock for a news outlet. They know that her articles will be scoured by right and left, and then everyone will get angry about it, and then they'll generate a lot of buzz, and then people will sign up for the Washington Post. But I also know something else. The Washington Post has veteran journalists there. If you work for the Washington Post, I know you know what I just said is true. And you know more, because I have sources who have told me certain things about what's going on behind the scenes. If you're an old school journalist who believes in truth and you are watching the op-eds masquerading as news articles, you are watching this and you are angry about it, you need to do the right thing. You need to blow the whistle on illegal activities, unethical behavior, malfeasance, whatever it may be. I'm not saying they're doing anything illegal. I'm saying just blow the whistle on whatever you can blow the whistle on. Expose these people. I have it on good authority that Taylor Lorenz is widely despised by the veterans of the company because she's viewed as like someone, she constantly has temper tantrums. She's always, complaining about something behind the scenes. She's freaking out, all that stuff. Now, that's just what I've heard from people in media. We'll see if someone's willing to speak up, spill the beans, and share what it's like working with this diva. Taylor Lorenz is a liar. She doxed libs of TikTok and then denied it. She did. And many on the left just lied to cover her, but we have documents showing that she did dox libs of TikTok, period. That's all that matters. We have public housing records, so we know. Taylor Lorenz is not a good person. And I hope NewsGuard takes a look at this. Send it to him, I guess. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 8 p.m. over at youtube.com/TimcastIRL. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.